the show. That's quite a statement, Matt, considering this is the WWF title match, and it's the worst one. Do you feel that's a fair assessment, Matt, after you've just watched it yourself?
Yeah, I do. It was just like two big guys just sort of pounding on each other. No technical skills whatsoever to be found. And then the worst bit is, like I said, the shenanigans as well. It's like becoming a trademark of Diesel's now. Like something is going to happen at the end of the match that's going to cause it to break down into fiasco.
Yeah, I couldn't remember this one, but was Vince McMahon on commentary for that match, Matt? Did you see? Was he?
I don't know. I had the sound down, didn't I?
I mean, just watched it. It's fascinating because when I used to watch Vince, and you think he's out there's not a lot he can really do if he doesn't like what he's seen. Like, he can't just sort of shout at them. So, give me more, from the commentary booth. But I mean, it must have been, to watch that must have been quite difficult. But anyway, we'll get to more things like that. But let's move forward now. 29th of May, after that fiasco, Montreal now, and it's another taping here. And this time, again, they work a whole Sid versus Diesel match, and this gets just the 1 star as well. So that is, it's almost like, yeah, we'll do it again. Well, I'm sure it'll be better. It wasn't. Timeline facts now. The World Wrestling Federation pulled off a major coup, striking a deal with NBC TV to broadcast a 1-hour special on the 4th of the 6th, airing both Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow and Diesel versus Shawn Michaels matches from WrestleMania. Even though it's a one-shot deal, a strong rating would almost assure the open door future for any big special episodes for WWF on NBC. So obviously WWF were trying to sell it as a 1-hour special, get it on NBC. There might be new people that didn't watch the pay-per-view and to a different audience and all the rest of it. Meltzer reports the major shows Diesel will be missing on television tapings the 5th of the 6th, the 7th of the 6th, due to an injury, so he's not going to be around. Fun fact now as well, according to the London tabloids, Matt, us over here, if one chooses to believe them, that is, get this one, Matt. I don't know if you've ever heard this. I'd be surprised if you have, but the Duchess Ferguson, of course, Fergie, was offered $50,000 to crown the winner of the King of the Ring, but turned it down.
No, I've not heard of that one, but I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, just when I saw that, I was like, really? Oh my goodness. It's not enough anymore. It's like, give me a real, I want royalty, bring them in 50,000. But yeah, it was turned down. So there you go. More news now then. It was supposed to be the night that the World Wrestling Federation returned to network television. In the end, it was a rare case, of the World Championship Wrestling winning a one-upmanship battle against its rival Office. And basically what happened was the whole fiasco, what I said to you a little bit just a little while ago with the, what looked like a really good deal for WWF getting that 1-hour special. Well, guess what? NBC, something happened where they literally revoked all the plans to do it, and it was a no-go, and it had been cancelled, and there seemed like a huge big deal about this at the time. The NBC had just dropped it like that because they'd had a good relationship at this point with Dick Ebersol, who was kind of a big part in NBC in the relationship with the whole Saturday Night's Main Event back in the early 90s and late 80s with those ones. So yeah, it was a real kick in the face there to WWF not to get that 1-hour special. And another fun fact here is news from Monday Night Raw taping on the 5th of the 6th here in June. is the biggest news was the debut of Chris Benoit in a dark match as a tryout. WWF has been hot for Benoit for months, but if Benoit were to go into Titan, he'd have to give up his long-time job for New Japan. That's fascinating, Matt, that Chris Benoit was on the radar back then for WWF in their current climate of quite heavily gimmicked guys.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what gimmick they were lining up for.
Yeah, Lord knows.
Just as crazy.
Yeah, Lord knows. Yeah, but interesting they've done that. WWF is releasing audio tape biographies of Razor Ramon, Lex Luger, Diesel, and Shawn Michaels aimed at a younger children's audience. So they're trying anything there. Get to June 19th now, 1995. And in a stunning move, and this is, of course, big news of the whole wars, Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner on the 5th of the 6th, WCW will be adding a television show every Monday night, going head-to-head with Monday Night Raw for the TNT cable network, starting the 7th of the 8th in August there. So, Matt, just when you think it couldn't get any worse for WWF at this time, they get that announcement happening. That can't have been music to Vince McMahon's ears, hearing that they were going to go live up against Raw come August, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm sure that didn't best please him in any sense of the word.
The latest on the injury situation for Diesel is that he's expected to work the next pay-per-view, but definitely won't be back until that time. Want to get to the 26th of June now, with Diesel at the shows in Bam Bam Bigelow's corner for the cage matches against Sid. Diesel's distraction caused Bigelow to win the matches that weren't good, reports Mel. So considering fans didn't know Diesel wasn't there and going to work as the headline with these cage matches. It wasn't a good sign. Low attendance is reported all round here. Okay, so let's get into July now, and I want to hit King of the Ring. And of course, always a theme with us on our old podcast. If you want to go back and relive the retrospective series that we've done, every single King of the Ring in their entirety. But this match, Matt, was, of course, and I think the only reason it was a tag match, obviously reading off this, is the fact that he was carrying an injury. But it was, of course, Diesel and Bam Bam Bigelow up against Tatanka and Sid in a match that went just over 17 minutes. And Meltzer gives this a very poor 1 star. I remember watching this, Matt, on our retrospective series. It wasn't anything to write home about. I'm not sure if it was as bad as what Meltzer reports, but as far as us looking at him overall, Matt, I mean, he's been champion since October sort of time, November. He's carried through Rumble. He's obviously won at WrestleMania. Is this a good sign where we're up to now at King of the Ring, Matt, where he's doing this sort of tag match? I know he's got to do the tag match because of the injury, but the whole thing with Bam Bam, like 1 minute he's facing him, now they're friends, and it seems like a bit of a mess going on here at WWF at the time. What was your take of the match at the King of the Ring and just where Diesel was at in his career at this point?
Oh, it definitely was like plans had gone awry here.
Yeah.
And there was no real forward thinking in this. It just felt like 4 guys that had been slapped together in a match for the sake of doing it. Like, you had to get those names out there, and like it just happened that this would benefit Diesel in a way by doing it this way. But I just didn't really buy into it. Didn't actually feel like any investment into this at all. Like, didn't really care about the outcome too much. So yeah, I think it was a bit of a disappointment that, in fact, that he would be injured and he couldn't actually do a singles match or something.
Yeah, I think he would have needed it at this point. I mean, I did quickly go back and watch it some brief bits, and towards the end, that when he gives Tatanka the jackknife, it looked so sloppy when he'd done it. It looked like he almost struggled, and it was horribly looking, the whole thing. But yeah, to me that wasn't I mean, I think I don't know if I'd have just thought to myself, might just be best just to keep him off the damn thing, and having him involved in this. But nonetheless, I want to go to Superstars taping now, which was from the 27th of the 6th, and Diesel is jackknifed Tatanka after the match he had with Sid, so he's getting in some like rivalries with Tatanka quite a bit here, and apparently the only reason they've done the spot where Diesel jackknifed Tatanka was to keep the fans happy when they go home. That's what's been reported. Moving into July now, Matt, WWF around the house shows. They're doing cage matches now, and it's Diesel up against Sid still. These aren't much better either. They're getting 1-star ratings, a lot of these house shows. It amazes me that, I get that guys would work programs, lengthy programs on the circuit, on the house show, if you're a guy that maybe isn't the champion. But when you're the champion, I don't know at what point WWF have to say to themselves, it might not be working, but they obviously seem adamant that something good's going to come out of it. So it's also worth pointing around this time, Matt, and we talk about the struggling times of the WWF, but besides the employer cutbacks, come August there will be a major change made in the way they do television. They already moved from doing tapings every 3 weeks to every 4 weeks, doing 4 Raws and 4 Superstars at every taping. Matt, that's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of wrestling to get through. I mean, back then, I'm guessing Raw was, say, 1 hour. It wasn't 2 hours then. But you're recording 4 shows in front of 1 crowd, and you've got to make it look kind of different each time. So if a guy's coming out and cutting a promo, he's got to kind of look a little bit different. That's kind of, I mean, it's sort of TNA level, isn't it? They're here. The way that they're sort of kicking this stuff out. But it's incredible that those guys were doing that back then for the likes of Raw and Superstars, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't believe that they did it that way. It just seems so crazy, like, and I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be in attendance there watching this, and just how hard it would be to actually be invested, or whether actually going there to see it would ruin it for you and take a little bit of the magic away.
It's like you go there in the live audience and you think to yourself, well, I'm going to be able to watch these at home for the next 4 weeks as well. Because I've just literally watched 4 weeks worth of television here. So I don't know how good that is for everybody, but yeah, it is fascinating to know how that was. Also, it's reported that the Wrestling Challenge show is being dropped in the fall. WWF was facing cancellation of the show in both New York and Los Angeles markets, and had a weak times in most of the in the markets as far as their time slots were going. So yeah, they're really trying to cut back on as much as possible at this time. A lot of employees were sort of gone. I think they'd made a lot of people redundant at this point. July 24th now, 1995. Most reports indicate King of the Ring did a 0.65 buy rate, which would make it a sizable margin, the lowest rated WWF pay-per-view, Matt, in history. Get that. That would indicate about 150,000 buys and a 1.6 million company gross. If 1 year ago you told me that UFC would be beating WWF on pay-per-view, I would have doubled down and put a bet to never say that would be the case. Matt, it's an incredibly depressing time here for WWF, but when you think of that King of the Ring, I suppose the main event on paper wouldn't have stood out as something you'd want to buy. I know that the King of the Ring is its own thing, but you think you've had Brett as the winner, you've had Owen as the winner up until this point. Of course, this time it was Mabel. So even if you get the pay-per-view, Matt, you're thinking to yourself, I probably won't get another one after this, because it was just such a weak show in general. But that's incredible, isn't it? The lowest pay-per-view in history at this point in 1995 just shows you how bad things were for WWF. And like I say, I don't really see how